What's going on, everybody? Tyler Redmond back with our seventh episode of the Hunter Ridge podcast. And I know it's been crazy, y'all. Hunting season is over now, and we're getting back in the swing of things as far as stuff outside of, hunting season, stuff like that. We're in the off season now, which means we're back to our podcast now. And because the last episode, as y'all may remember, we were joined with T-Bone for a second time, and that was back in July. So that was the last time we did a podcast. But today I have the honor and privilege to chat with Anthony Synoground, who is the host of Synoground Outdoors. You can find him on Facebook. And y'all have a YouTube page?
We do have a YouTube. We've just got it going, but most of our stuff is on Facebook and Instagram.
Good deal. So there you go, guys. Check them out on Facebook and Instagram. And these are some awesome people, and got to talk and meet them through T-Bone. And T-Bone is the reason we're talking right now, because he's definitely got us here.
That's right.
Old Travis. And y'all and by the way, folks, some of y'all may not if y'all are not on social media like Facebook and Instagram, they'll post every once in a while of some shooting rounds that they do during the week and stuff with T-Bone, right, guys?
That's right. Usually Thursday night we got our Knockbuster crew shoots over there.
That's awesome. Sounds like y'all have a great time.
It's more fun than the law would allow. I'm glad they don't really know we do it.
I've definitely seen some clips, and yeah, that's something I need to do. I definitely need to do some bow hunting more, not just hunting, but target practicing and stuff like that. But we'll get on with it, guys. So this is Anthony Synoground with Synoground Outdoors. Already mentioned, y'all can find him on Facebook, Instagram, and we're going to talk about some really cool things that basically one thing in particular you don't hear of much, but we'll get to that in a minute. But Anthony, tell us how you got started hunting, man. We ask people all the time. We want to know what the background looks like. How did you and your guys started getting into hunting and everything?
Well, it's kind of funny because nobody in my family hunted. We may hit a deer with a car and take it home and dress it out, but that was about it of hunting. Family did, and it was, I don't know if it was hunting as much as I like being outdoors. So I think by the time I was 7, I was watching TV shows with, like Mutual of Omaha. You're watching all these animals, and it was just like kind of a burning desire. I wanted to be outside, so I stayed out in the woods. I was never a video game kid, didn't play many board games or anything like that. So, just kind of got in the woods. And then we had an older in our church. He actually was retired from the Air Force as a test pilot, and then he went into the Georgia Department of Natural Resources. So he was the head of DNR at the state capitol building. So he was the man in charge of DNR here in Georgia for about 15, 20 years. So he was actually retired. Kids were moved on, and I think for lack of better something, probably trying to keep me out of trouble. So, that's kind of where my journey began. He got me out in the yard, and we plinking around with a 22, seeing who was the best shot, and kind of just went from there. He owned a huge swamp, so wildlife was in there pretty thick, and just kind of started from there. The love grew. He finally talked me into going deer hunting. So he didn't want to be there with me. He gave me all the rules, the regulations, the ins and outs. And he said, just go try it. See if you can do it on your own. So I probably hunted for 2 years, never pulled the trigger. So, it was just one of those learning curves. I was right at 12, 13 years old. And he told me I was moving around too much. He said, you're probably just not being still. At the time, nobody was wearing camo. We took our clothes and wrapped them up in cedar limbs overnight to kind of give them that cedar smell, which is, I would think, is still probably a good choice to do. But yeah. I remember him telling me, he said, we're going to have to get you concealed. So we loaded up in his truck and rode to town. There was a Kmart. and we went out back at Kmart, and there was a big refrigerator box. So hence my first box blind was a Whirlpool refrigerator box. And we took his place and camoed it up and cut some slits in it. And he gave me a 5-gallon bucket to sit on. And I shot a doe in 2 sits out of that box blind. So
Yeah.
I knew then that it was on, and that I had to work a lot on how to be stealthy in the woods. But I'm telling you, that old cardboard box blind, I wish I had that thing framed up somewhere in the shop, because, man, that done it for me right there.
10 out of 10. That is awesome. Hey, man. Hey, when you was talking about the cedar and everything, I was like, hey, natural camouflage.
That's right. So it kind of just grew from there, Now we're hunting. We're hoping to see some horns, and back in the late '80s, early '90s, horns weren't real popular. We'd see them sometimes crossing the road, but didn't really know how to get after them. So it was a huge learning curve. But I think in 1993, 94, I was really starting to hone in on what I was doing in the woods. And we had seen a big deer in the back of the swamp, and that's where he told me, he said, these big deer like to live where nobody else is at. He said they don't want to be messed with, they don't want to be spooked. So he said, in order to get one, you're probably going to have to get somewhere where you don't want to go. So, kind of doing my scouting, I would set up on the edge of a creek, and I could hear deer way back in the swamp, as they splash through. So I'm like, I'm still 100, 200 yards away from where I'm hearing deer. I was seeing deer, but not the deer that, we knew was in there. So one weekend, I just set in my mind that, I'm going to do this. So I got a John boat, put it in the creek, threw all my gear in it. And I pushed that John boat. The water wasn't even deep enough to really put a paddle in or a boat motor. Trees all over. You can imagine old gnarly swamp. So I just kind of pushed in there and got back there to about where I thought I needed to be, and got up on a tree, and lo and behold, the biggest deer I ever seen in my life, come out through that swamp chasing about 3 does. And he went through the water and got up on a little high spot like an island, and old 30-30 with the iron sights made it happen. And, he wound up going 166 inches. So it's still
Wow.
the biggest deer I've ever shot. So, you hear the once in a lifetime. It might have been my once in a lifetime, but 166 5/8 deer is a nice one to put on the wall.
Oh gosh, especially where we live at. You're in Georgia. I'm in North Carolina. So and we have them. You just got to find them, and you got to be in there at the right time. And I know they're in there for a fact, but like I said, you don't see them typically as much as you would do out in Kansas and stuff. That's where they're they're basically known for, big buck states over there. But you can find them here if you're lucky and blessed. But last year, I hope he comes back. I don't know if he's alive or not, but I had a buck that was pushing all over 160s. I mean, a giant, and he was in the area, and but he only showed up. Only seen him 2 different times, and that was during the summer. And the when I saw him for the first time, as far as when I saw how big he was, that was it. I didn't see him for the rest of the year. So hopefully he, or maybe even his offsprings are still around. But you're right; those are here in this area. That's definitely a once in a lifetime deer for sure. It would be for me too.
Oh yeah, and then we've kind of we everything progresses. Kind of hanging around with guys that were really serious about hunting, and the next phase was can you go get one with a bow? I remember my first couple of years with a bow was absolutely miserable. I
Hmm.
could shoot a bow, no problem on the ground, but somewhere climbing a tree, trying to get around limbs and just getting your nerves out. I mean, I was a basket case probably my first couple of years. And then, like always, if you can get an arrow in one, you think, okay, I can do this. So that kind of started. I was probably, I don't know, 22, 23 before I really got into bow hunting, where I felt comfortable, like I was not going to be hurting animals. I wanted to make sure that, everything was what I wanted it to be when it happened. So that kind of got us into bow hunting, and we've shot a couple nice deer with bow. And we've learned different things, especially being around with T-Bone, being able to work with him and work his farm, helping with food plotting and all that stuff. I It's like one of those free educations you don't know you're getting, but you get a lot from that. So we've kind of taken a lot of things that we've done there, helping him do. He helps us out a lot with seed products and stuff. So it's just been, it's kind of been an evolution from where we started. Nobody in the family hunting, and not having really, I have no siblings that hunt. So just me and my son. But I really wanted my son along with me. So I started carrying him when he was about 10 years old, and he's whacked down 3 pretty nice ones in the last 4 years. So he's already up onto a 153-inch deer, which was a phenomenal deer for where we're at. But just kind of the evolution of it, getting a lot of patience in, and realizing, hey, we may only shoot one deer off of this little farm, and that's what we mostly hunt, is small acre tracts of land. So it's kind of tough. You always hear people talking about land managing and doing this, but on 20 acres there's really not a lot of management you're going to do. So we just try and make sure we've got the best food in the area, we've got good water, and we try to stay out of it until we know we're going to go in and try and kill one. So that's kind of been our recipe here lately. But it's a blast now, getting to watch him shoot and hunt. I don't even care if I really shoot anything anymore. Really, I like getting other people involved. But man, sitting in the woods hoping a whitetail walks by, it still gets me.
Absolutely. And just because you said that, you talking about watching your son and everything like that. Let me show you this right here. Let's see here. How do I? Oh, here we go. Let me show you this right here. I made this frame of all of us, friends and family in the outdoors.
There you go.
Yep,
Yep.
that's basically started with my dad and his friend Greg. That was like a second dad to me. He passed away at a young age at 55. Come down with diabetes very bad and heart attacks, and T-Bone knows the story about that. But basically, other side from my dad, my buddy Greg got me more into it and stuff, and we started taking our cousins, Weston and Mason, hunting, and they're hooked now. Mason killed a really nice 8-pointer, scored 124, and that's a good buck by
Oh,
any means.
for sure.
And
Well,
and
you got some pictures there. I'll show you a couple of these here. This was probably some of my favorite. I don't know if you can see it. It's a little cutout I keep in here. That's Memphis when he was about 9 years old.
oh my gosh, that's awesome.
The
I
deer,
love that.
but you couldn't have told him that he wasn't part of it. He toted the corn down in the woods, and he helped me drag it. So he got posed up on that old deer. And I mean, it's really, it's amazing to where things go when you get kids involved. Here's another little picture I keep in here on my desk. This is him his first 3D tournament. Man, you couldn't have told him he wasn't hunting in Alaska that day. So that's what it's all about anymore for me. I really enjoy taking people, watching them get that first glimmer of success. It's really an awesome feeling.
Oh, dude, there's nothing like it because, like I said, reason I showed you the picture, basically how the legacy is too. You basically you learn from your dad, and like your son learned from you, and about how to do it, and like I said, maybe whether it's the bow hunting or, but there's nothing like it watching kids when they get their first one of anything, they are hooked on it, and I mean, because I remember like I said, watching my dad, watching him hunt, all the success he had, and basically how mine started. I started watching, TV, and I think you and I share the same story or background. We started watching hunting on TV, real tree monster bucks, and I wanted to get involved. I would start go hunting with him, watching him shoot the deer, and when it was time for me to pull the trigger or pull the bow on one, I was gonna let it eat. And my first ever hunt, when I was the guy, you know, when I say pulling the trigger, it was with a crossbow. My buddy Greg let me borrow his, and I killed my first ever deer with it. And you talk about a feeling like never before. That your first of anything is the best feeling by far.
Oh yeah, I 100% agree. I remember the first deer I took. If I could think back on it, I could probably tell you the first squirrel I shot. You know, it's just those things. You know, it's funny that people that don't hunt, they have no idea the things that get conjured up just walking out in the woods and stepping on those first leaves and smelling pine needles. Just like, man, it takes you right back to being 7 years old again.
Absolutely. Hey, hold on to those memories, man. Those will never go away for sure.
That's right.
But yeah, like I said, I'm more of a deer hunter, and some people may think I'm crazy, but I actually killed my first turkey, and now that was awesome. Yeah, it was a Jake, but at that point, it was your first turkey, and that was awesome. And I got him hanging right here. I killed him in 2023 with a 410 at 44 yards.
That's impressive.
Well, yeah, thank you. But I'm gonna tell you something. It was that TSS and that shotgun, dude. I'm telling you, my friend Jonathan Brown got me hooked on it. He come to church. We both go to church together, and for a lot of people don't know, well, especially down your area, here in North Carolina, there's a track in Winston-Salem, not far. It's called Bowman Gray Stadium, and Jonathan Brown is his name, and they call him John Boy for the race fans. But he is a big hunter too, and he is your popular or famous local Bowman Gray driver, and he's had a lot of success there. But um, he went to our church, and I started to get to know him and stuff. Did some big things for me, which was incredible off the get go. And then one Sunday, I went up to him and he said, "Hey, dude," he said, "I got some places to go turkey hunting." He said, "You want to go?" And I was like, "Yeah, I like to go," because deer hunting was more my thing and still is. But turkey hunting, you can't pass that opportunity. And then second time we went, he said, "I feel good about this spot," and we heard some gobbles from a couple jakes, far off, and sure enough, about 45 minutes to an hour later, it was dead quiet, and then all of a sudden, we hit the call. Bam! They're right behind us. They come in gobbling. They started leaving, called them back in. The rest is history, man. That was that, and we got it on film too, and that is a bonus to have it on film.
You're right.
I'm not sure if you've seen it, but it's on my channel, and it was an awesome hunt. It was, and it was funny. I had to chase him down the hill.
Well, at least it was downhill, not uphill.
Right, exactly right. But it was so funny, man. But yeah, I encourage you to check that out, and I'll have to check your channel out too. Is it the same thing, Synoground Outdoors?
Yes. Like I said, we've not done a lot of uploads on it, but we put a few things on it, just toying with it a little bit. We're going to try and do a lot more this year with it.
There you go, man. Absolutely. Well, if y'all anything as far as advice or whatever to edit videos or whatever to get on YouTube, just let me know. But other than that, yeah, I'll definitely hit that subscribe button, and I'll we'll watch each other's videos and we'll get a kick out of them.
There you go. Yeah,
Yep.
it's funny getting Memphis into deer hunting. He 2 years ago he got the opportunity to go duck hunting, and I was like, oh boy. I said, you're already turkey hunting and deer hunting. I said, well, if you get into duck hunting, you're going to be broke. So, you know, funny the way things work. He's probably 100%. I would say he probably prefers duck hunting over deer hunting at this point.
Oh
But
my gosh.
he's not going to miss the woods. He's going to get in the woods. But boy, he is. I've never seen a kid get more taken in and tore up over duck hunting. But he's all in.
Oh my gosh. That's something I want to do. Actually, that's something I want to check off that list to go duck hunting. I have a couple friends that go duck hunting, but um I'm sure we'll get out sometime, but it has to do with the property and everything, getting the permission from owner, letting other people come. So I'm
Yeah.
sure that'll come at some point. But yeah, hey, once you get hooked on something, you're hooked.
Yeah, I told him, I said, I guess the biggest thing that kept me from being hooked on duck hunting is, it was the end of deer season. So it was like you was already kind of beat down from deer season, and then it's cold. And I promise you, every time I went duck hunting, I got the waders with the hole in it. And I said, there ain't nothing more miserable than sitting on the side of a creek or a pond with your knees covered in water and at 20 degrees. Like, I fought the whole hunting season to try to get warm. And I said, now I'm sitting out here in a mud hole trying to shoot 3 wood ducks out of here. And I'm like, I did it a couple of times with some friends of mine, but I was like, yeah, it just wasn't my jam.
That's funny. You just mentioned only 3.
Yeah.
That's funny. Hey, let's talk about this. T-Bone mentioned this that you do you now correct me if I'm wrong, but do you have y'all work for Gamo, right?
We do.
That's awesome. Yeah, tell us how you got involved in that and how that's going now, because we hear that brand all the time. And of course, I do through Bone Collector and just those little rifles, man, like taking them squirrel hunting or whatever. Those are some fun guns, and I've heard many stories about them where I've seen many videos where you cock them, especially the Squirrel Master Classic. The team uses that a lot. Tell us about that.
So it kind of a funny deal. We were building a dock on one of T-Bone's new little brim ponds, and while we were out there, we was like, man, there's quite a few snakes out here on this thing, and so we told T-Bone. I said, don't you got some of them Gamos down there in the basement somewhere? He said, yeah, I could probably scrounge up one. So he gave us one, and I think Memphis shot a snake with it like 20 minutes after we had it down there at the dock. I mean, he shot a snake probably 3 or 4 times coming across the water. And, we started doing some videos, and we just were, like everybody else, we're tagging Gamo. We was happy to be supporting Bone Collector and T-Bone. We got the Gamo out. Like you said, we've seen 1,000 Gamo commercials. So, just kind of just goofing around, and then we'd be here at the house and shooting some squirrels. I remember Memphis, we went over to my brother's house, and he had a bunch of string of pigeons up on a wire. So Memphis cracks off a shot about 65, maybe 70 yards. I mean, just pinwheeled that pigeon, dropped him. And I was like, there ain't no way. I said, I don't know if I could do that with a 22 rifle. So, just kind of one of those things. And we kept posting some stuff, just goofing around. And we didn't know it, but the guys at Gamo were kind of watching what we were doing. So then, talking to them later, they said, we kind of stalked y'all for about 6 months, because he said, that we're kind of looking for faces, your father son duo, you're clean cut, you ain't got tattoos all over you, you don't cuss, just kind of one of those deals where, they were looking for something, and we just happened to be at the right place at the right time. And we're 4 years been under contract with them, doing their social media stuff. So being influencers for them. And, they're under the parent company of Daisy. So the Red Riders fall in there. And then here in the last year, they just acquired Benjamin and Crossman. So under that umbrella, they reached out to us, and now Memphis is going to be the face of Benjamin and Crossman. So now we kind of get to split ways a little bit. He's still part of our Gamo team because, we're Synoground Outdoors, but it's really been a cool ride with them. And you're right, going like to the Squirrel Master, we got to go last year down there, and that was a whirlwind of an event, but a great time, great bunch of guys, and we had a blast with it. We was kind of a little disappointed this year, of course, the Squirrel Master ain't happening, but
Yeah,
that's kind of
I
out
heard
of
that.
control. But and we still got a couple of weeks to chase squirrels, so that's what we're going to be doing. We'll chase them right to the end of the month when squirrel season goes out.
There you go. Actually, we had a squirrel tournament. It wasn't like the Squirrel Master Classic as far as I would say not as competitive as the hunters are there, but um, basically the tournament is more like a nonprofit. It was for a nonprofit business actually called Backwoods Bandits NC, and I've been able to be on live videos or live interviews with Aaron, who runs it and everything, interviewing me and stuff like that. But um, his son is autistic, and that's the reason they're doing all these events. I guess is to to help autism, the awareness and everything, and his business, of course. But the squirrel tournament was to help benefit and raise money for the local fire department, which was a big thing. And but basically, we went on our own ways, and we met at the fire department, and you got to um obviously, if you're the team that had the 8 heaviest squirrels per hunter, obviously you would win a good pot. But then you had to pay an extra $10 if you wanted to, or you had to basically pay $10 to have a chance to at the single heaviest squirrel. And dude, I'm gonna tell you something. I come out with zilch. Well, I texted T-Bone and told him that. He said, "This is what he said." The first thing I said, he said was, "What?" And I said, "Dude," and my friend Jonathan was shocked because I went to one of his places, and he said, "Dude, they're running all over here and stuff like that." Dude, they were nowhere, and he said, "I'm shocked because I guess it was the weather and everything because the days prior it was warm and it was cold that day, so obviously I believe they wanted to take everything they needed to their nest and hide for the day. But I shot 3 different times and I missed completely. But other than that, I come out with zilch. And so,
Yeah,
hey, but I'm going to tell you something.
humbling stuff. I can give you that.
They're tough. They're tough little critters.
I think
But
last year our first day we had a pretty good day at the class, and I think we were only 2 squirrels out of first place, so we were in second place going into day 2, and we felt good. Jackie told us we had a good spot to hunt, and of course everybody's talking smack when we headed out that morning. But man, I'm trying to tell you that second day, I don't know how many miles we walked. And for this old crippled joker, I walked until my legs, I thought they were going to fall off. We did not see but one squirrel the entire morning. I mean, we
oh
saw
my God.
one squirrel with a group of 7 guys. We saw one squirrel. So we had the whole Gamo crew was able to put some squirrels in the bag, but I think one of our landowners' kids shot one in the front yard. Is the only reason our group got a squirrel in a bag. So it was the most brutal day of squirrel hunting I think I've ever had.
It's crazy. Yeah, they're sensitive to the weather, obviously.
Oh yeah.
But no, dude, that's a good story about Gabo and everything like that. But here's something to point out. Well, you may know, may not know, but we were talking about backwoods bandits and how Aaron's son is autistic, but I'm autistic actually. High functioning though. A lot of people say they can't tell, but it's true. I have it. I started symptoms when I was 18 months old because I got those vaccines they force you to have,
Hmm.
and a lot of people say that is a problem when those vaccines cause stuff like that. And boy, it messed me up in the early stages. That's when it was worse. But if I mention it to people, they say, "Dude, I'd have never known if you hadn't told me anything like that." So that's been a blessing. You know what I mean? So,
Oh yeah, I would be in that camp. I wouldn't know. And
but
I'm glad you just kept going with it. I think that's probably some of the most important things. Like Travis's son's autistic, and
yep.
we kind of bleed a little bit when we see him and going through some tough times. So it's hard. You want the best for young folks. So glad to see you pushing right on through.
I appreciate it, buddy. That means a lot. Yeah, and trust me, it has his. Well, so I have, let's see, exciting stuff and stuff like that. ADHD. Yeah, that's more of my common issues. But autism, aside from that, basically, it may do the same for Archer and other people that are high functional like me. But right now, autism operates my brain to think differently and how people have to explain things differently to me. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's how that affects me in a way. And yeah, you may have thoughts and stuff that you think autism is the reason you can't do so and so. So I've learned not to make that an excuse and just just go on. You know what I mean? So
Well, I'm good for you, buddy. I'm proud for you.
I appreciate it, brother. I appreciate that. Yeah, and that's how we're pretty much. That's how we've talked to T-Bone and stuff because his son is autistic and I'm autistic, so that's pretty much a reason why we talk and stuff like that, and we have something in common almost. So, but yeah, and this is something also I learned from you guys is that y'all go hunting for iguanas too, right?
Oh man, that's probably some of the funnest stuff you'll ever do. If you get the chance or the opportunity, I'm trying to tell you, it's more fun than I when we got invited down for the first time, you have no idea what to expect. Okay, we're going to be like going and shooting squirrels, but we're going to be shooting lizards. So then you realize that the kill zone on an iguana is about the size of your pinky nail, right behind his eyeball. You can shoot
Oh,
that bad boy in the body like a squirrel. And those big iguanas, we pulled some of them down and skinned them out, because we eat a lot of them. We pulled one out and it had 32 pellets stuck in its body. But
wow,
their skin is so tough like an alligator hide. If you do not hit that joker in the brain, right behind his eye, he ain't dying. And when you
wow,
shoot them in the body, they'll jump out of the trees into the water. They swim like a fish. So they'll come up on the other side of the pond, and then you're not going to get another shot on him most likely. So it was a whole new world we got immersed in, and we didn't really understand it. The second time down, now you kind of know the game. So it's been fun. We probably are whacking 150 to 200 a day when we go down there with our crew.
wow. Oh my gosh. That because yeah, that's what I want to know. Tell us because and this is something that I want to do more of. And like I said, deer hunting will always be my number one favorite or most sentimental thing to hunt. Well, like I said, I started on deer hunting, and I think a lot of people can relate. When they start on certain hunting, that's their number one favorite one or their main one they focus on, stuff like that. And then, of course, I got to kill a turkey. I love turkey hunting, and they all have their different. You have to hunt them differently than any other critter, like deer hunting. You can you don't have to have camouflage at 100% of your body. You can wear maybe just a brown hat or a tan hat or anything like that and sit in the tree stand, ground blind, do whatever to hunt deer. And with turkeys, you got to be 100% pretty much covered in camouflage because they can see and you got to hunt them differently. Only sit on the ground and, duck hunting has its way, elk hunting. But this is what I want to know for people that have no clue. I never even, I might have heard it once or twice, but other than that, I have never heard of anybody hunting iguanas. Tell us, Anthony, how is that, and what are all the different techniques you have to do to hunt those stinking lizards?
So first off, it's an invasive species. So that's why we're even down there because Florida Wildlife Fish and Game wants as many of them killed as they can get killed. And then going down there and doing some research and talking with the DNR and stuff in Florida, we didn't realize the amount of damage. But it's in the millions of dollars every year because the way the iguanas work, they like water and they like vegetation. So if you've ever been down to Florida around, most places in Florida are right at sea level or close to below sea level. So they have retention ponds. You can imagine you've got a retention pond and then you've got condos that sit all the way around this retention pond.
Oh my gosh.
Turns into like a little fishing lake for the communities. They're usually pretty good size, but the iguanas get right at the water line and they dig in to burrow for their eggs. So on average, they burrow back 60 feet in order to lay eggs. Well, those buildings are only about 80 feet from the water. So as they start digging, if you can imagine, say you've got a retention pond and you've got 150 iguanas living in that pond. So they're
Wow.
in the trees, they're in the bushes at night. That's where they sleep. So in the daytime, they're out, and anything comes at them, they can retreat to the water, and you can't get to them. So a guy walking around with a baseball bat or a golf club, he might whack one every now and then, but there's just not a good way to kill them. So what they do, get back on the devastation part, they're laying like 30 to 40 eggs in every one of those dens. So the population is just exponentially exploding. You know, every hatch, you've got 30 more iguanas, and they grow so fast. And then the reproduction rate, now you've got 40 of those, say half of those are females, they're going to have babies that year whenever they come into. So it's just like this perpetual cycle that won't stop. So what they have to do is they have to come in with concrete pump trucks, and they pump concrete down along the grass, and it kind of just slopes over the side like lava. So when you get down there around it, it kind of looks like a lava pool because there's all this crazy looking rock and stuff, but it's where they've poured concrete. So then what happens is the iguanas go right above the concrete, and then they dig in. Well, now the concrete's starting to come up closer to the buildings. So now they've actually got buildings that have been undermined. The foundations are cracking. So there comes into play, the people who own the condos are like, you know, this is a wild animal that's causing this devastation. We think the state of Florida should pay for it. So then the state of Florida comes back, well, this is an invasive species that people brought here from other countries, and they're not even on our checklist. You know, we don't have a season for them. They're an invasive species. So this has kind of come about in the last 10 years pretty strong, where there's all kind of people going down. So we go down and we usually take our Gamo crew, and that's usually about 4 or 5 of us. Sometimes they'll get a contest going, and we'll get a contestant, somebody that wins a hunt, to come down with us. And I mean, we just go down there and whack as many of them as we can. So they want us down there right at denning season when they're pregnant and they're about to lay babies. So they're just before they lay their eggs, they want us down there, and we'll shoot them. And I mean, we'll open them up, and I mean, there'll be 30, 40 eggs in each one of them. So, I mean,
How big are they?
they're probably about the size of a quail egg, maybe smaller than a quail egg, but
Yeah.
they're a leather shell, just like a reptile, like a snake. And they're a delicacy in Puerto Rico. So some of the guys, they'll actually collect the eggs up in like 5-gallon or 55-gallon drums or whatever they put them in, milk jugs, and they can sell those. There's no market down there to be able to sell the iguana meat. But, you know, every year we go down, we take our coolers and stuff, and we'll come back and we'll cook up a batch of iguana fajitas, and they're phenomenal to eat. I love them.
Really?
Oh yeah. So
wow.
it's kind of different, where when you think of hunting, you're probably thinking of you're going to get in the bushes, even though you're there, you know, you want to sit in the bushes and hide. Well, that's not the approach at all. We're walking around these buildings like a SWAT team. So when we pull up to the complex, we actually have to call the police, give them where we're at, say there's going to be 7 guys. We're all going to be in black shirts with Gamo on the front and iguana control on the back. And we're going to be here from 9 o'clock till 3 o'clock. And
Okay.
they will field thousands of calls of people on their property with guns. A lot of people mistake us for like SWAT crews, and so they'll be out on their porch with their phones. But then it's pretty quick to realize what we're doing. So if you imagine you're in this theater and you're totally surrounded on this pond by houses. You know, what do you learn as a kid? First thing is gun safety. Don't shoot nowhere near a house. You don't
Right.
shoot water, because you'll get a ricochet off of water, blow a window out of a house. So all the things that you know about that are out the window. But there is a safety protocol. So what we try and do is we try and wait for the iguana to just get down to the water line. So we've got a good bank as a backstop.
Right.
And then we try and just shoot at that, or we make sure we got a canal as a backdrop, maybe some trees. So you kind of, when we'll put like 2 people in front and say, these are going to be our 2 shooters. Well, then the rest of the crew is kind of spotters. So if we see somebody walking out across the yard, we'll holler, hey, wait, we got people. So, you know, it kind of, because you get in that mindset of, you know, I got to kill some of these. You're focused on that. You're not focused on what's happening around you. So it's a kind of an evolving scenario when you're out there. You get people cussing you out and videoing you and calling you a creep. And I mean, it's just a whole vibe when you get down there. But man, I
Oh my God.
tell you, it's probably some of the funnest stuff you could do with a group of guys.
Oh, I bet. So basically, yeah, I know what you're saying. Cause, couple questions. Yeah. Okay. I'm just trying to picture. I know that you got the condos surrounding that one pond. Okay. Then you got the iguanas, and basically, I know what you're talking about. Like, like just a regular pond or whatever. You got where the water's going to pretty much come, and you got the ground where it just starts going down. Basically, the edge of that ground is where they're going to. It's almost like a mold. They're going to dig right through there, right?
Correct. Exactly.
And now I know why. If you shoot them in the body, they're just going to probably either swim back in the water or run into their hole, and you can't get them.
That's right. Most of the time they jump in the water and they just swim to the other side. So and that's a lot of times
Wow.
strategy is we'll get a crew on one side of the pond and a crew on the other side. And then basically when you shoot one, it jumps in the water. Those guys just get ready for it to surface on the other side, and then they try and shoot it right there at the water because now you're aiming down into the water at them. So
Right, I got you.
so
Now,
we get out onto some open canals from time to time where we're not around houses, and that gets a little calmer, but you still got cars driving by. But and then that's a whole weird situation. You're standing on the side of a road and cars are driving by and you're shooting guns, and people are freaking out because they don't know what you're doing. So you think that people down there should already be used to this, but then when you think about it, average person probably lives in one of those condos for maybe a year or 2 years, depending on their work moves. So it's a constant influx of new people that don't have any idea what's going on down there.
wow, that's crazy. Now, let me ask you this, because you talked about the guy, um, like if a guy is walking down there with a baseball bat or golf club, if they see you, they're going to take off. But y'all are like more closer to the house where you're a further distance, right?
Correct. So we walk basically with our back up against the condos. So I mean, we're walking, touching the building pretty much, and that's kind of the strategy that our iguana guide he gives us. He said, they're used to people down there working, cutting grass, painting, changing windows, working on screen porches. So whenever we go down there, we don't even look at the water. We're kind of like walking along the building with our gun, and we're kind of just like looking at the building, and we'll touch the building, and we're kind of just like, we're not nothing to see here kind of deal. And then at the corner of your eye, you're just starting to watch because they'll kind of group up. You'll get like especially if you've got a big dominant male, he'll have like, maybe 7 or 8 smaller iguanas around him. So you kind of just start watching him out the peripheral of your eye, or you got the guys across the lake saying, "Hey, you got another 60 yards and you should be able to take a shot." So it's kind of it's a crazy little situation, but it's pretty wild.
That is awesome, man. That sounds fun.
Yeah, I would say if you had a bachelor group or something getting ready to get for a wedding and you wanted something to do for a good 2-day trip, quick down,
Yeah,
that would be an awesome trip.
that'd be awesome. Might have to plan that for mine. No, no, dude, that is awesome. I never knew anything like that because, like we talked about, when T-Bone said iguana hunting, I'm like, oh boy, this ought to be because deer hunting, squirrel hunting, uh, rabbit hunting, turkey hunting, duck hunting. They all have their similar. They all have their different ways of hunting them and stuff. But the iguanas, man, that is interesting. That wow, that is awesome.
Yeah, and the fact that they can run about 30 miles an hour makes another little tedious because they'll come at you sometime, and then sometimes they're running at somebody else, so it gets a little hairy.
Oh man, they charge at you too, the males.
Oh, they will sometimes. If you get them over and get them cornered where they don't think they can get out, they'll come. I tell you, probably one of my favorite things is going at night. We went on a big golf course where we could go at night and you just shine the lights up in the trees because they're cold blooded critters. So when it gets a little cool out, they just kind of lock up on the tree and they ain't moving too much. So that's kind of like shooting fish in a barrel. But then that's
Yeah,
a whole other thing. Now you're out here walking around at night with flashlights and guns, and people are really losing their minds. So we try and
yeah.
do that for maybe like 30 minutes, and then we'll move to another spot because even the cops they ain't cool with you being out at nighttime with the guns. So we try we try and just limit that to a few minutes every evening.
Wow. That's awesome. Y'all got video footage of that or anything like that?
We can't show that video footage according to Gamo.
Okay. Yeah, that's understandable, especially being around other people and have the cops involved. Yeah, that I don't know why I asked that, but no, yeah, that's definitely
No,
understandable. But
we've got some footage. We just can't play it around much.
oh, gotcha. But hey, man, hey, footage or not, that sounds awesome.
It's a blast. I don't care how well you do it in the daytime. It's a blast too. So we get plenty of footage of that.
That's good, man. I'm happy for you guys to enjoy something like that, and that's that's awesome. And y'all do taxidermy too, I believe, right?
Well, we do Euro mounts. I do a lot of skull carving, and we do some antler repairs, and just kind of anything with a Euro mount. We pretty much do.
That's cool. Yeah, we got I got three different Euros in here. One of them was going to be a real Euro mount, but the taxidermist accidentally dropped it, and so he did an artificial one. But man, the artificial, you really can't tell much difference. They look just the same.
Yeah, they got some good artificial skulls out there. We have actually in the last couple of years have started taking a lot of people's skull caps. And because if you leave a skull cap intact, you can always score it. So I mean, there's some guys out there that have shot some 140-inch deers, and we're going to mount them, and then 3 months later, they shoot a 170-inch deer. So they're like, I'm gonna mount that one. I don't want to mount the other one. So then what do? Now you got a deer skull cap. So we've been going down to down to the local processing house, and we'll get some of the heads from those guys, and we've been molding skull caps back into antlers. So because the skull cap hasn't been compromised, you can still have it scored. It could be a book deer that you get scored and officially put in a book. So we've kind of been doing a lot of that here in the last 3 years. That's been working pretty good.
I got you. That's pretty cool, man. Let's see. Y'all got any? Let me ask you this: what was your most cherished hunting memory that you'll always remember? Let's hear that.
Uh, I would probably say that my son's first deer. I would, with all the stuff that I did, it's memorable. But if there's one that you hold close and dear to you, it was probably that one. And I mean, I could replay you that hunt word for word, minute for minute. It was just one of those deals where he was, he'd been hunting with me for a year, and just, you know, I'm tired, I'm sleepy, I want to go home, because he's 9 years old. So he finally got to be 10 years old, and we have an old, and the property that we're hunting is some of my wife's family's old property. Been in the family for hundreds of years. But like I said, it's all just small tracks, but we have several small tracks that kind of link up through other properties. So a lot of times we'll see the same deer on the same different tracks. So we had seen a couple good deer. So I hung us a double set on an old live oak tree. And I was going video, and I said, "Look, you're going to be the hunter this time. He's been watching monster bucks and bone collector. He knows how this works. You got to have a cameraman and you got to have a shooter." So we set it up. I set it up with a cameraman stand in it, and we got in there. And it's November the 7th. So if you ever wonder what day Memphis is going to be in the woods, November the 7th is the day. He'll stand on a stack of bricks and say that's it. So we were in there, and it was a cold. And we're going to be in there probably an hour and a half before shooting light. So that's 5:30 in the morning, getting in the stand. And he was he was holding in there strong. I ain't gonna lie. I was hitting the rattling horns, and I'm grunting. We've got the camera rolling because you never know what's coming if you go smashing horns together. So we probably done reeled off 15 minutes of camera thinking we got something coming, and it'd be a smaller deer or a doe. So we kind of got dull on us. Got down to about that, I don't know, probably 9:30. And like I said, we've been in the stand since 5:30. So he was getting a little antsy. So I said, "Look, let me hit the rattling horns one more time." we had thought we heard a little fight sequence up on the hill away from us, but we didn't see anything, but we could hear it sounded like two bucks fighting. So after it died down, I said, well, just let me hit the rattling horns and let's see what happens. So I smashed the rattling horns together, and I mean, it was 13 seconds into a rattling sequence, and the 10-pointer comes just barreling down through the woods at us. I mean, he's coming in on a rope. So my natural instinct, I reach over and set the rattling horns down and just grab my bow all in one move. So I grab my bow, and he looks up at me. I'll never forget, he's looking straight up at me. And he said, no, this is my deer. So he's got a 20 gauge shotgun, a 20 gauge pump, and he throws up and hits that deer probably at 15 yards. And I could see his off leg flip up over his head, so I knew he had hammered him. But the deer tore off running. So in all the confusion, I never hit record on the camera because I grabbed my bow and then had to set my bow back down. So while I'm fumbling, he goes ahead and shoots. So I get to record the aftermath of him shaking and melting down, and he's looking up over his shoulder at me, and I'm like, you got him, baby, you got him. So, I mean, it was one of those wild, it was a roller coaster ride. And then we get down and we film the recovery and we track it over and he finds it. I mean, it was just, it'll probably always be my favorite hunt.
Wow. And that was his first deer?
First deer.
Wow. Now, which picture you showed me, the one with him holding the spike, was that your son?
Yes, that was a deer we shot here in the backyard.
Oh wow!
And he was just posed up with it. I mean, he was probably about 7 in that photo.
Oh wow, that's awesome, man. So
like
that
I said,
was.
So he'd been tagging along with me for a couple of years, and then he finally was like, "I think I can do it. I'm ready to shoot."
I got you. Oh, that deer he was holding, that was your deer, right?
Correct.
Oh,
yeah.
I got you.
I'm not about not shooting a spike. I'll shoot a spike.
There you go. Hey, tender meat.
we call them Alabama 11-pointers down here.
That's right. Here's the funny thing. I just thought about it. You was talking about how those iguanas come from different countries. I'm like, well, they ain't the only illegal immigrants.
That's it's quite a few of them.
Oh, I know, man. But dude, now those were awesome stories, man. Those were wow. I don't think you can top that, man. Well, is there anything else you want to talk about? Anything you want to ask me? I mean,
kind of taking the evolution of our ride with Gamo. We've gotten into a lot of deer hunting here the last 2 years, where we still do a lot of predator hunting. So we're using a lot of our Gamo stuff for that. So, we've been able to take a few people hunting. It's been awesome to take kids that have never hunted, scared to death of a gun, because air gun has no big boom, has no kick. So it's almost like hunting suppressed with that same BB gun that you've been shooting in the backyard. There's no big explosion. So, we have really, we really are locked in on the air gun. We're 100% in love with hunting with air guns. So we've got some 35 calibers, we've got some 45 calibers, and we've got night vision on them. So it's been a pretty intense pace. And now that Memphis is working with Benjamin, he's got some 45 calibers. So we plan on doing a little competition this year, seeing who gets the best deer, longest shot kind of deal. So, it's kind of crazy to think about. You're taking an air gun and shooting 100 yards with it. And I mean, you can wear out a 3-inch circle at 100 yards and getting, like my big air gun that I hunt with, I'm getting 5 really good shots. I got a 5-round magazine, so I get 5 really good shots. And I think this new Benjamin that Memphis is shooting, I think it's up to like 15 shots of good kill shot. I mean, these things are ever evolving. They're getting better and better. And, it's kind of in that same realm of, bow hunting. You want them in close, and you got margin of error is real small, not like with a rifle where you can just crank rounds off at it and you're hitting it hard. These are more precision shots, and you ain't got but 3 or 4, and you probably are out of good shots on them. So it's been fun here lately. We're gonna take a couple more first timers this year. We're thinking about trying to do a air gun giveaway and get some kids in here hunting. So we've got some pretty good sponsors. We're working helping develop some shooting houses with some guys here close by. So that's been a good partnership. We're kind of peddling their shooting houses and kind of showing them some ins and outs. This is their first time jumping into the hunting world, so we've been privileged to do that. So things are ever happening, like you said. If you don't ever try it, you never know what'll happen. Here I am, 50 years old. Everybody says if by the time you're 40 you ain't got it figured out, you're probably going to be stuck right where you're at. Well, I hate to tell you that ain't the case. You can do anything you want anymore.
That's exactly right. Hey, there's nothing like it, and absolutely, man. That I got. Let's see. That big one, I think. Yeah,
Yeah, I can see.
right there. Yeah, that's actually my biggest buck with a bow. I killed him right behind the house. Dude, you'll have to check that out on my channel as well. I had a story with him. I was hunting all year for him.
Yeah,
He come in. There was multiple times he gave me the shot, but either I was the one that goofed up or he just, he ran off and stuff like that. But finally on the sixth hunt for that deer, he come in 15 yards and pinwheeled him in the heart.
yeah.
Those are awesome memories for sure. And actually that arrow that's right above him, actually it's two arrows I Robin Hooded.
Yeah,
That's
I've only got. I think we've got 3 of those hanging in here, but Robin Hood, that's hard to come by too.
oh, I know it. I know it. Yeah. That journey for that buck though was something else. That was my main target buck all through basically that year. And he was the biggest one that was constantly in there. And like I said, several hunts. One time I shot at him, I stopped him, and sure enough, luck would have it, my arrow perfectly placed a limb, and he gone. It
Here, I'll
happens.
I'll take the camera and spin it around here. I'll show you. This is one of our skulls that we got carved here,
Oh, nice.
and that was a deer got hit on the road right over there by Travis's farm at Four Springs. So that's why if you look at the forehead, we've got the Four Springs logo carved in it.
Oh, wow.
And then here's one we did as a signature series, Bone Collector.
Nice.
You look on this side, it's got T-Bone's autograph on it.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
So that's some of our shenanigans we do. And then there you see the air guns back here.
Wow. That's tons of them.
We got tons of them. You want an air gun, you let me know.
That's awesome, man.
I know a guy.
Actually, I bought my first 22. I was like, Daddy, I was like, I need one because he's got two. And because I never had one of my own. So I went ahead and bought a excellent condition 22. It was a Marlin brand model 25N. It's a nice gun.
Oh yeah. I've got
There
a love affair with a 22 rifle myself.
there you go. Yeah, that
I
thing's nice
got
bolt
a
action.
safe stack full of them over here.
That's awesome, brother. That is awesome. Let's see. Yeah, man. Well, hey, this has been an awesome talk, man. I appreciate you coming on with us. We could sit here and talk all day, but that being late, my work schedule and everything, we had to do it at 7 o'clock. But Anthony, I appreciate it, man. Is there anything else you want to mention or anything like that?
No, I guess we covered about everything I can think of. We're getting ready. We're getting ready for turkey season, so that's all coming up. And we're going to do some air gun hunting for turkey. Memphis took one 2 years ago, which I think was the first air gun turkey in the state of Georgia. So they just kind of legalized all this stuff. So we're gonna do some air gun hunting with turkey. So that's coming up here in the next few months.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I don't think that's lawful here in this state, but I know some states, I guess California being one of them, because I remember T-Bone and Nick went up there years ago, and they were shooting at turkeys with the Gamo, and they couldn't hit a bird. To say sorry, T-Bone, but they couldn't hit the bird.
Yeah, I think
But
the first turkey killed with an air gun was in California. So they got out in front of that pretty. Of course, you know they got strict gun laws, and that's one great thing about an air gun is they're not falling under any of the restrictions of a firearm. So you can order you a 50 caliber or 40 caliber air gun just right through the mail, and it comes straight to your house. No FFLs, nothing like that. If people have a dodgy record, not saying that everybody should own a firearm, but if you've got some things that tic tac you up where you can't hunt with a rifle, you can hunt with an air gun.
that is awesome. Wow. That
So,
that's so, hey, I'm gonna tell you something. A lot of people underlook those Gamos or just air rifles in particular, but those are some fun guns to shoot.
yeah, I would say probably in the break barrel world, I think Gamo is right there at the top of the ladder and super accurate, super quiet now. They've got all silencers built in the barrel, so I'd tell anybody if you want to get some kids in the woods, Gamo's probably a good way to start them.
Oh, absolutely, especially like for squirrels and stuff. In fact, I got my very first squirrel I killed. I got the tail of him hanging on my European mount of my first bow buck, and it was a little 6-pointer. But yeah, I got the little tail. I got I got some fishing line string, and I just knotted it and put him right up there.
Native Indian, after all.
Absolutely. Yep. But brother, I'd say tonight was pretty awesome, and hopefully we can do this again at some point.
Oh yeah, you just let me
And
know. It was a good chat with you this evening.
absolutely, buddy, we'll have to catch up on some stuff and learn a lot. That's the iguana hunting, man. That is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's a good time.
That's awesome, buddy. But well, I think that'll wrap it up for the 7th episode of the Hunter Rich podcast. Um, and for all my viewers out there, you guys watching this, I will be having an Anthony. It'll be on Facebook too. Actually, we're hoping to do it this week before the weekend. If not, we'll hopefully do it here pretty soon. But we've been talking about it. Me and my friend Jonathan Brown, we're going to do um a live podcast. Um, it'll be on Facebook Live and stuff like that, and then it'll be posted on the YouTube channel later on. But be a live podcast with him. He's got some incredible hunting stories, turkey, deer, and then we'll talk about his racing background of how he got started into modified racing. So he drives the modifieds and his racing career, and then his and other stories and stuff like that. But he's killed some big bucks. In fact, his biggest deer was a 163, I think, here in North Carolina.
That's awesome.
That is, and he knows how to hunt them for sure. And but folks, that will be our Lord willing our next podcast. If not, we have another special guest, and um, Anthony, I'll tell you who it'll be after we close out the video. But everybody else will just have to wait. I know who it is. You'll know who it is, but it's gonna be a secret. And but we're excited for this next person. It was also recommended by T-Bone for me to interview, and we're definitely gonna do that. And his story, I believe, will be awesome as well. But Anthony, thank you, buddy. I appreciate it, man.
Been a pleasure, buddy.
All right, guys. That is the 7th episode of Hunter Rich Podcast. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Other than that, be safe this week, and y'all have a great rest of your day.